There we go. Cool. Over here too. There we go. All right. So, welcome to what we are calling the Licensing Playbook Live. Today's topic is turning silence into a response. So, when you're looking to license a product, sometimes you get that silence. We'll talk about that in a minute. And how do you turn that into a response? That's a pretty good way of turning things around, I think. We are streaming every Wednesday at 5 Pacific, 6 Mountain, 7 Central, and 8 Eastern, but you guys already know that. If you're paying attention and you showed up, I think you know that. My name is Andrew Krauss. I co-founded InventRight with Stephen Key over 25 years ago. Stephen, do your Vanna White. You like, is it like this? Was that's the Princess Di like this, right? Oh, like that. Okay, okay. I got it. All right.
Oh,
Um,
there you
that's
go.
Princess Di, right? That's the, I think. I don't know. Um, isn't that weird that she died, right? The princess died and Diana died. That's very insensitive. I shouldn't. I'm just trying to be silly, guys. Okay. This weekly webinar is your go-to guide for learning how to license your product ideas to companies that are actively looking for innovation, which is not all companies these days, but more than ever. When Steve and I started InventRight 26 years ago, yes, 26, 26, over 2.5 decades ago, companies weren't as open as they are now. You guys are lucky. This is the best time ever to be licensing. I'm not saying it's all a piece of cake. There's certain things about it that are harder than back then, but companies are very open to licensing. Doesn't mean they all are, though. So each week we're going to break down real world strategies and the exact steps you need to take to get in the front door of companies. You learn how to pitch with confidence, avoid common mistakes, and dramatically, yes, dramatically increase your chances of landing that licensing deal. Thanks for joining us live. Feel free to ask questions in the chat box if you're here on Zoom, or digitally by raising your hand here on Zoom if you can figure that out. I won't explain it. If you can automatically figure that out, then you're just very special. And if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, simply type your questions to the chat and we can ask your questions. I'll ask the questions on your behalf. So Dana is here with us today. Dana, raise your hand. There you go. She's our Gateway Outreach Manager. Chad's also here. Chad, do your Vanna White. You look just like her. All right. So Dana and Chad's job is to reach out on behalf of our clients to license products, to reach out to companies. So that's why Steve and I love to have them with us here when we do these licensing playbook live sessions. So today's topic is turning silence into a response. Has a company gone quiet after a promising conversation? Silence can often be uncertainty in disguise. Today, we're going to cover this very important topic of what some people call ghosting. You guys like being ghosted? Probably not, right? We'll discuss why it happens, how to restart the conversation while maintaining professionalism, and what you can do early to reduce the likelihood of silence. I don't like this thing about being professional, Steve. If they ghost you, you should just send them nasty email, right? Just
That's what I do.
no, no, no. Okay, all right. No, we're not doing that. We're not
You
doing that.
may you may want to, but you definitely will want to, but you shouldn't.
Okay, all right, cool.
Just type that up and send it to Andrew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just send it to me to vent. Send me. I was gonna send this to a potential licensee, but I'll send it to you, Andrew, because I'm just venting. I'm
Mhm.
like, gee, thank you.
yeah. I want to jump in here because there could be a lot of reasons why they're not getting back to you. And I know Dana and Chad are going to give you a list of all the reasons why they're not getting back to you and maybe how to get to them. But there's one tip I want to give at the very beginning that I saw work because it works extremely well. In fact, I gave this tip a while ago and someone used it and they emailed me back and goes, I used it and it worked. It's using the I word.
Hmm.
Um, I'm concerned, or is everything okay? Because I have not heard from you.
Mhm.
That's really weird because, when you think about it, you're trying to reach out to someone, you're really making it about your product. And there could be a lot of reasons why they're not getting back to you, vacation, kids, school, busy, who knows what. But when you reach out to them that way, you're really saying to them, I'm concerned about you, not my product. That's why I use I'm concerned about you. Are you okay? Is everything all right? Because I have not heard back from you. I'm going to guess you're going to get a response almost every single time.
Hmm.
I've seen it work. In fact, it worked just recently, and someone said, "Steve, I can't believe it worked." Yeah, because you're going after it from a caring standpoint, and it's not about you and your product. And usually they say, "I'm just sorry, I've been so busy."
Yeah.
That's what's amazing about that. And I think that's what we have to realize. They're not ghosting you. Maybe they just don't have anything to say right now, and maybe they because they don't have any information, they're waiting so they do. So I don't know if they're actually ghosting you. So that's the one tip I have. Dana, what do you do when someone doesn't get back to you?
You know what? I've done exactly what you've taught me to do. Make it more personal instead of trying to beg for that response. I hope everything's okay. How are you? I haven't heard back from you. I do the same thing. I mean, we'll get into some other things that we do too, but I think that's important because, I always think about it from my point of view. So if somebody reaches out to me once and I ignore them or whatever, I don't have time to answer them back, and they reach out to me a second time and a third time, they never ask me how. They never ask me, how am I doing? Are you okay? Is everything okay? And so I think that really just puts that personal touch on there. And it does work. I don't know if it'll work every time, but it does work. I had it happen with a company that I had a very good relationship with, and we talked back and forth for a long time, and then nothing. And as soon as I said, "How are you doing? Is everything okay?" He responded right away. And they always come back. They will, though. This will happen. They always come back. If they do respond, it will always be, "I'm so sorry."
Yes,
They
they all
apologize
do.
every
But
time.
yeah, so that makes me think that they're not ghosting you. They're not going to, "Look, I don't want to get back to that person," or I don't want to talk to that person. I think what's happening is they either don't have any information at the moment and they're waiting till they do have information. Am I right about that, Chad? What do you think?
For the most part, 90% of the time, but I'll go out and say sometimes they are ghosting you. Sometimes they are. I mean, that
Yeah.
just is the way it is. Most of the time, they're not. Like you said, there's a million and one reasons why they might not be getting back to you. But I have had a couple companies where I've spent literally months trying to get back in touch with the contact.
So why don't they want to talk to you?
Well, like you said, I mean, it could be a number of reasons, especially with your product. I mean, first and foremost, maybe it's just not a good fit for them. We always start there, right? And so our big thing for that is, it's counterintuitive for the inventor because you want to send out something that is convincing. I want to convince them, convince them, convince them. We like to throw in there. We like to give them an out. You know what I mean? Because ultimately, if it's going to be a no, that's what it's going to be. So I would rather hear a no than nothing at all, and spend weeks and weeks and weeks reaching out and trying to follow up. So we always like throw in there. It's like, hey, if this isn't a good fit for you, feel free to let us know, and we're always happy to send you anything else that might be relevant for you. So you make it easy. You don't.
Yeah.
It sounds real bad when you say you want to make it easy for them to say no. Not that you're looking for a no, obviously, but if that's ultimately what it's going to be, that's what it's going to be, and I'd rather hear it than not.
I like it because you're asking. I mean, I've told some people, ask for the no.
Yeah, we do it all the time. And in a sense, not that we want it, like I said, not that we're trying to get no's. Obviously, we want to get these products through. Because before we get to that point, we're always asking, if you have any questions or feedback or anything like that.
Yeah, because I don't want to waste my time.
And we don't want to waste theirs.
Well, and sometimes that's why they don't respond. It's 1 more minute that they could do something else. They see the email, oh, they'll just give up. Or maybe they're not consciously thinking that. They see the email, like, I don't have time for that. I got this other email, goes further and further down. And I mean, let's be honest, sometimes that's the case.
So is ghosting a no?
What's that?
No,
Mm-mm.
absolutely
No.
not.
Oh,
No.
no way. Yeah, no.
No.
because I mean, you can make all kinds of assumptions. Like I said before, you have no
I mean, if
idea.
they're not that, hey, if they're interested, wouldn't they call you back?
No.
Well,
not
here's another thing.
necessarily.
Maybe they don't work there anymore. Maybe they
Oh.
got fired.
All right.
Or maybe you're reaching out to a dead email that the guy's like, I work
Okay.
at Kmart now. I'm not answering those anymore. Or they no longer have
Okay,
access to it. I mean, there's been
okay.
numerous occasions where we've reached out and they're like, oh yeah, that person's no longer with the company. This is
Okay.
a new contact. Feel free to send it over here.
Yeah.
That happens
Okay,
all
so
the time.
so let's say you do that. You check that box off and no, they're still there.
Yep.
And you keep on doing it, but you keep on not getting anywhere.
Well, here's your next thing. Here's your next thing. Is there a better contact? Do you have the
Okay.
direct contact? Okay, because sometimes you can find out you may have been dealing with a middleman who's getting it over to the team and this and that. But I mean, you do run into those occasions where that's your guy and you have to keep pressing forward. There's no way around that person sometimes.
Fair enough.
Hey, I got a good story. It just happened to me. I'm working on a project with you, Stephen, and I was reaching out to a CEO of a company, and we had a little bit of a conversation. I asked him if he would be interested in seeing this product, and I explained it, and he didn't answer. So I waited 2-3 weeks. I reached out to him again. He didn't answer. And I finally yesterday, I said, just give me a yes or no. Literally, that was my question. Just give me a yes or no. Within a minute, he said no. And I said,
Well,
thank you. Good. Now I can move on.
You guys, the reason why I like that so much, I mean, I don't want to know, but at least I've got a paper trail now and I can go do something else.
Right. You're not wasting that time. And Dana's got a great tactic that she uses, and we've taken that on. I'm gonna share part of your scripts. And she says, we're looking to wrap up representation on this client, and we were just wondering if we could get a follow-up. That gives a sense of urgency. Now, from an independent product developer's perspective, I guess I don't know, how would you spin that? I guess because with us we have clients, so it's a little bit different of a perspective. But if you can put that polite sense of urgency in there, as in like, hey, I don't need an answer right now, but we're looking to move on to this next phase of the project. If there's any initial interest, we're happy to answer questions. But if it's not something that's a good fit for your brand, we just let us know and we'll move on.
Hey, I got a question for Dana and Chad. Would people be surprised at how apologetic people are about taking a while to get back once they do get back?
Yeah.
And can you state like what do they say in the emails?
Oh, we have one over in the UK. Of course, he's a great guy, super responsive. So anytime that he takes a while to get back to us, there's always a preloaded apology in there, and realistically, when you do this every day, that preloaded apology is unnecessary because we get it. You were busy, and I'm not offended. I didn't think you were blowing me off. If you don't answer me, I figured you were on vacation or doing this or that. I mean, this is business. This isn't your buddy. You know what I mean? You can't be mad because they didn't get back to you or this or that. It's a business relationship, and those time frames are more drawn out.
So when Chad, get back to finding somebody else. When do you find somebody else?
So there's times where before we get to finding somebody else, before you get to that point, so 99% of the time, like I do pretty well at my follow-up. So 99% of the time, how I can avoid that, well, I've sent an email out, they're not answering. Pick up the phone and call them. Get them on the phone, and the second you get them on the phone, have your email up and ready to go. Be like, hey, I reached out to you, sent over some marketing materials on blank, blank, blank day. That means they can look it up immediately. And 90% of the time, they'll say, oh yeah, I did take a look at that, and it wasn't a fit for this, and this reason. They just didn't get back to you or this and that. Most of the time, they've already seen the marketing materials and made an opinion on it. So you can avoid that ghosting by just switching up the way that you're reaching out. If you're always reaching out to them by phone and you're constantly getting voicemail, switch over to email. You'd be shocked how often you'll get an email right back. It just depends what their primary method of contact is.
Can you ask them what they like, how they like to communicate, Dana?
You should ask, because otherwise you're chasing your tail around in circles,
Well,
But,
I did it today. I called a company, left a voicemail, found them on LinkedIn, left a LinkedIn connection, and sent them an email all within 15 minutes. And
I
in
have
the
a company
email,
that
I
wants
said, I
to
don't, in the email, I said, I don't know what your preferred method of communication is. So I just left you a voicemail and I left you a LinkedIn note. I was looking for an email. I pitched a product to a company. And it was only like 2 weeks. And he said, apologies on the delay. Because I followed up with them. I reached out to him, sent
Well,
him the sell sheet. Then 2 weeks later, I followed up with him, and then he was apologizing me for the delay, but 2 weeks is nothing that's nothing.
It's
but
almost
I love that. I
unnecessary.
love that. I'm gonna rename that the triple threat, Dana. You do the
Yeah,
LinkedIn, you do the email,
trifecta.
you do the
Yep.
phone, and you let them know I sent all these, and they're like, oh, this person's serious. I'm gonna need to
Yeah,
take a look and tell them to take a hike or show some interest or something,
it
but
it
they're not
does
gonna
work.
go away. This person's a pro.
That's
Well,
where we got the leap. That's where we got the leap, Andrew. LinkedIn, email, and
Yeah,
phone.
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
You
yep,
gotta
yeah.
have all those.
yep.
there's
Yeah.
there's a technique I used to use years ago. When I would leave a voicemail, I would say, I'm calling again. I hope I'm not bothering you. I'll keep calling until you call back.
That's the threat.
Yeah.
And what they just realized that you just hey, you need to deal with it, or this guy's not going away.
Right. And that's the biggest success that you can have. And it doesn't even have to be in an annoying way. It's just so for the longest time I always when I started with InventRight, I always wondered why you said that we had to ask for permission to send over a sell sheet. I never, I never clicked with me that until the further in that I did it. Well, the reason that you ask for permission for a sell sheet to send the sell sheet is because then that gives you the right to be able to follow up. Because if I just send this over to you, I mean, if I just send it over to you and it's unsolicited, I mean, how many times can you maybe twice reach out before you're being like kind of like out of line because they never answered you in the first place? But if they told you you could send it over, I'll keep calling for 6 months because you said you wanted to see it, you know.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, and I will. I mean, and just to be clear, I know that sometimes we say things on here. Just to be clear, we normally, Chad and I, the team, the Gateway Outreach team over here, I would say on average, if we have to follow up with somebody, it's 2 to 3 times before we
Right.
get a response. But it also has happened where we will reach out to someone 6 to 8 follow-ups before we say, okay, that's kind of our limit. Like, okay, they are not going to respond. Meanwhile, I will start to find somebody else in that company, and you see it all the time in we send emails. We have a getting in email thread that we send out on Monday, and we just, load it up with companies we're getting into. And it will happen where we lose a connection in one company, so we have to go back and find another connection in that company, and that happens. And a lot of times when we do that, we can say, I was in conversation with, Mary Jones. I just wanted to connect with you too and see if you'd be willing to look at this product and if you're open. Mary told me that you were open outside ideas and maybe you're the best person to talk to. So then they already know that I've been talking to Mary Jones. I don't know who Mary Jones is, make believe, but I mean, for these purposes. So they already kind of know I have that credibility that, oh, I've already had a relationship and this happened to me. And I've shared this story before that I had a conversation with a woman in a company, pretty large company, and a great relationship, back and forth, emails, LinkedIn, and then nothing. And I thought that was so odd because there was no reason for the conversation to stop. And I linked it, and she was still on LinkedIn. Her email wasn't bouncing back to me. So I actually reached out to 2 other people in the company and said, I've been talking to, her name was Chris. She's not responding to my emails. Can you tell me if everything's okay? And the owner of the company was a person that I reached out to, and he emailed me back and said that he said she passed away like 2 months ago. So, things happen. They move jobs and they're under no obligation to tell us if they move to a different division or a different job.
Hey, Dana, question, is there a certain job title that ghosts more than another job title? For instance, how many times have you been ghosted by the CEO of a company or the president of a company? They ghost
That's a good question, Stephen. I want to know the answer to that too. That's
Actually,
interesting.
I think CEOs are more responsive.
I agree. Yep.
They
Why
are.
is that?
Probably because nobody wants to reach out to them because they're scared to reach out to them because they're the CEO. You taught me that because you're like the CEO of our company along with Andrew, and you give your number to everybody and you say, hardly anybody ever calls you. So I love calling CEOs of the companies. I want to talk to the top dog.
Yeah, that's usually
That's who I want to talk to. Chad's the same way.
Yeah, maybe they feel like they represent the company and they want to do it in a positive way and
Yeah, yeah.
they want to send that message, especially on social media. But is there anybody else that does typically ghost more than someone else?
Before you get on that, I will say that I think the
don't know.
reason that they do that is because another reason that you might get a quicker answer from all that. I mean, it's obvious that they feel that they have the authority to review that. If you get a couple steps and levels down, now you're getting into a position where they have to check they have to go upward to check, oh, this thing, that thing, this thing. So you can get a quicker evaluation the higher up you go.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Hey.
I've never really tracked that. Maybe we'll have to pay attention to that and see if we can find.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know one that will ghost you 90% of the time, and that's customer service. Like they'll tell you, "Oh yeah, I'll get right back to you," and you'll never hear back from those guys. So typically, no, I won't say never. As smaller the company, the smaller the company, the better. I think.
Yeah,
You get into the bigger companies, they're like, "Oh yeah, let me transfer you over to so and so."
Yeah,
You're on hold for 2 minutes, and then it just hangs up.
Yeah, yeah.
But Chad, you have your method is calling. That's your specialty. Because I know Brad, part of the Gators, his method is emails. So I'd be curious if you get ghosted more by calling or emails.
It's more. I think it's more difficult to ghost somebody when they're calling unless you're just flat out not answering your phone. But you're at work, man. You have to. So I'll just call you. I mean, how many calls can you? Unless unless you're the CEO, and it's because I will say the more CEOs and VPs that you reach out to, you'll leave a lot of voicemails and they'll get back to you. But 9 times out of the 10, they're not answering the phone on the first call. Like they're not just sitting at their desk. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay. Fair enough.
I like phone calls first because I'm impatient and I want to get to somebody quick. But if I have to leave a voicemail, then I'm gonna go find them on LinkedIn, do what I just said, and get an email. And it's pretty easy to get an email. People struggle, but most companies, if you can find one email for one person, pretty much everybody in that company has the same email.
I got a question for Chad and Dana. So we do teach our students that leaving voice messages in LinkedIn for people you're connected to is an option. Some of you may not realize that. If you make a connection, you're connected to somebody, you can leave them a voice message and it shows up as a voice message instead of text. And some of our students do this. My guess is you guys aren't doing that. Have you ever tried it, Dana or Chad?
I don't think you can do that on your computer. Can you do it on the computer? You used to
I think
not
you
be
can
able
only
to.
do
You
it
can
on
only
the
do it on
phone.
I didn't
Yeah,
know
I've done it.
Device, honestly, I had no idea you could even do that.
I've done it, but it's not I actually forget that you can even do. Well, I'm usually on my computer, so I don't see the little microphone down there. But I have left voicemails on. I was talking to a bigwig at Sally Beauty Supply, and I left him. I actually did a video call for him on, because I wanted him to meet me and everything. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, while we're on the meeting, I'll double check. I'll go on LinkedIn. I'm about 90% sure you can only do it if you're on LinkedIn on your phone. But I
Right.
haven't checked in a long time, so I'll check for you guys and report in while
Yeah,
we
you can do it
some
on
more
LinkedIn
Q&A.
on your phone.
I like to video
Yeah.
cold call people, and I like to try to hit them on their lunch break.
What about hitting them on other social platforms besides LinkedIn, Dana?
Oh well, Facebook. Some companies have a huge presence on Facebook. The problem with Facebook is you really can't find people. You can't find who they are, like who are you reaching out to. But I've messaged companies on Facebook. The one that stands out to me the most is I was chatting with somebody on Messenger and Facebook, and I was asking them if they were open to ideas, and this is basically what we had, and they said, yeah, send it over to this, gave me an email and the name in the email. When I did go to LinkedIn for some reason, because I was on Facebook, but first I went to LinkedIn and he was the owner of the company on Facebook, or whoever gave me the email gave me the owner of the company's email. But I've tried Facebook Messenger a lot, and it's a bot, and nobody's getting back in touch. It's not my go-to.
I know Brad's had some success with Facebook. I don't
Yeah.
ever use Facebook, not for reaching out to
Right.
companies anyway. I don't know. It's
And
like
I don't have
personal
any of
profile.
those.
It's not, yeah.
I don't use
I have a
any of
super
those.
businessy looking profile picture on my Facebook.
Yeah, I don't do any of
But,
those
Dana,
other platforms. That's
I've
too
got a
much.
question for you. The Gators seem to be pretty motivated reaching out. You guys do it every single day. You almost have 1,000 companies in your database.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because at the very beginning, when you took this responsibility on, I told everybody you had to hit certain numbers
Mm-hmm.
throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a threat hanged over your head.
We didn't think you meant it, Steven.
He was just kidding.
No, because a lot of people we let go.
Oh yeah.
So the
And
question
that-
I have, everybody that's listening, what threat do you have to make those calls? What's motivating you to make those calls? Because I know what motivates you guys, but
Right.
what about everybody else?
Where's your accountability?
Because they have to hit certain numbers. So they're motivated. And also to be honest, they get paid for it. So what is your motivation? I know to get a licensing deal, but is that enough for you to track them down, not get ghosted, keep on doing all the things that they're doing? I think you
The
need to ask
consensus
yourself that.
is in the right. The consensus is that it's not enough sometimes, you know what I mean, that we found with a lot of students and people that come around that, you know, that I hear it all the time. Oh, it's been 3 months since I've worked on my project, and I could have swore it'd been 3 weeks, you know, that we hear that all the time. I mean, that happens with ours. I mean, that time slips away, and what measure of accountability do you have? You know?
Because I'm always wondering why your team is so good at this, because you guys, I get each day I see them getting in. I get a recap every week from Dana. How many new companies, who said no, who said yes. I get it, and I see it come in like all the time. And I'm always kind of dumbfounded because I know I don't like doing it. I hate doing it. It's awful doing it. So I know.
I'm gonna
Last week we
guess,
got into
Stephen, that
18
once
companies
it
that
be
we hadn't been in before.
I would guess, Chad and Dana, that once it becomes routine and you're successful week after week after week, and you know what it takes to be successful week after week after week, you just put the work in. We have a new person we're trying out on the outreach team, and he asked Dana and I a great question. He said, "So I heard you had to try out 8 people before Chad worked, and 8 people didn't work." And we're like, yeah. And he's like, what did they do wrong? And I said, what I think it's volume. They didn't do enough volume. They didn't do enough outreach. They didn't make
So
enough
what?
phone calls, enough emails. And Dana said, yeah, I agree. You got to do that volume.
So
I'd say a
what?
mix of that and then specifically targeting it. Like, so when we came on there was certain notes that, you know, I obviously I won't give out any names. That was before I came on, but there was, you know, I'd see a note that said, send out 37 emails. To who, man? There's like 5 decision makers. I mean, are you sending out, you know, emails to like to who? I mean, you have to specifically know who to target, you know, target within these companies to get those answers. Yeah, and
But you have to
you're
realize
just
when Chad first started, Chad was doing something he didn't want to do. And he was working a job he wasn't happy with, and he reached out to me multiple times saying, "Hey, I want to do something on InventRight." And we kept on saying, "No, we don't have a spot for you. We don't have a spot for you," because we didn't have a spot for him. But the minute this opened up, I said, "Hey, we got a spot for you, but it's the worst job you're ever going to have." And I also said, I need someone that wants to climb a mountain. And Chad said to me, "Steve, I'll climb this mountain and I'll climb the one next to it." So you guys, I think there is something about motivation here. I think it has helped the Gators do this day in and day out. And I think Andrew's right. Once you do it day in and day out, you just get so good at it, it's not an issue anymore. But how do you get to that point where you're really good at it? And how can you be good at it if you're doing 10 other things? I mean, you have to really
I'll
think
even
about
say when I was reaching out when I was a student, I gotta say there's all the different parts of licensing a project. You're getting your marketing materials, you're filing your PPA, all of that's great. It's fun to do. I liked all parts of it. But honestly, I didn't feel like I was making any progress unless I was reaching out to a company in some way or another. Especially once I got to the point where I felt comfortable sharing my marketing materials, because all of that other stuff is necessary, but it's never going to happen if you're avoiding that part. Period.
Yeah,
I know that I know that when I was a student, I wanted to quit so many times. It was the reaching out part that was so scary and so hard. But I think for me, the reason that I kept going is one, I had a great support team at InventRight, a great coach, Paul Sorensen. And my dream of getting a product out there was a little bit stronger than my fear of not getting the product out there, not reaching out. And I know that I got a lot of experience when I was a student. I got my product in front of 52 companies. Do you know how many phone calls and emails and LinkedIn messages I had to make to get my product in front of 50? It's not like I called 52 companies and they said, yeah, we're open. Sure, send it over. No, at 52 companies, I might have made 500 to 1,000 emails, LinkedIn messages, and phone calls. And after you do something like that, you got to if you want the reward, you got to do the work.
Well, and here's something interesting as far as that whole intimidation factor. Get rid of that right now, because like you're already with InventRight, and I mean these are just people on the other side. So you're already with InventRight, and that puts you at a leg up because you're following people that know what they're talking about. So here's for your intimidation. If you did this consistently, few calls a day for 6 months, even 3 months, I can guarantee you will be more knowledgeable about the licensing process than half the people that you're calling on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait a minute. I want to talk about that, you guys, for just a minute.
Yep.
He's really hit upon something. You think they have more information on licensing than
No,
they do not.
you will be explaining it to them.
And because of, if you educate yourself and take good notes and keep on listening, keep on trying, you're going to realize you're in control of the conversation. And
It's way more fun.
that changes the whole dynamic, because I know Chad and Dana feel like they're in control of the conversation. They can lead the conversation. There's nothing they're going to say they cannot answer or at least compact with enough information. That's why they have confidence now to call anybody. Dana, is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I would for our members in InventRight, we have called a leap session, LinkedIn, email, phone calls, and every time the members come on, I encourage them to make one phone call during this session, just one. If everybody would make one phone call once a day, you would call 20 people in a month. I can guarantee you, after calling 20 people, you're going to realize they are just normal people on the other end of the line. They aren't scary at all. And it's okay. I remember telling people when I first started, saying, I'm new to this. And it's okay. Somebody's got to start everywhere, and so that you're kind of preparing them that this is my first couple calls I'm making. I really like your company. You have great products.
So how do you get over let's say, okay, the reality today is it's harder to get to people. We've been talking a lot about it because of all the noise. So how do you stay motivated when you can't get to people or you're getting the no's?
I call and vent to Chad.
Well, and so this kind of mixes with a comment that, okay, so Brandon Prim said on here, he said, well, you as a company are pitching multiple different products to different companies. As individuals, we're only doing one or two. And I think that's in reference to like the volume of calls that we're making to get better at it. So when I was going through InventRight, I was running 3 products. And so you can take these other parts of it and you can stretch that out. So if you're I'm not saying that you have to do multiple products, but if you're working on different products at different levels, so you've reached out to these companies and now you're waiting on a response from them. So now you go over here and you work on this thing, right? So now while you're working on this, you're not sitting there just waiting, trying to like get a hold of them every day. So I think that consistency and doing that forward will get you that experience that will make you more confident in that.
Yeah,
if that's what
I'm gonna provide a completely made up statistic, but this is my gut. So most inventors, when they come up with ideas, They don't know if their goal is to license it or venture it. Most of them don't even know what licensing is, but they file a patent. And huge numbers of people file patents. They never go beyond that. Maybe they call one company, most none. I would not be surprised if only 5% of inventors that want to license a product would reach out to 20 different companies. 5% would be really high. You guys, the fact that you're listening to this and you know what it takes to be successful, you guys are the serious exception. And that's really unfortunate because of that fear. Oh, they're going to ask me all these questions, like the fear that Chad was talking about, or just, I don't want to do it, or whatever. And so I get it, but the reason why most inventors are not successful is because they don't reach out to the companies. So whether we're doing it or you're doing it, it's got to be done. And most inventors never do
Yeah.
that. And you have to address the fears, because
I
people
think-
are fearful.
No, I think you have to realize too, it's just time. It's just
Patience.
time. It's just
Yeah.
time and effort. And
Right.
I'm here to tell everybody, when you start to do this, document it, own it, and be proud of it, and say, look, I called this many. And if people aren't getting back to you, count how many times you have to follow up and make a game out of it.
Mhm,
You're
mhm.
going to realize how incredible it is.
Yeah.
What is going on that I've got to follow up with this guy for 20 times? Is he a nutcase or what? But have control of it and document it, because I think you have to have a little sense of humor here. Dana, how do you get through your day? Do you get it? Don't you have a little sense of humor about how crazy this
I
can be?
do. I do. In fact, when I did this, and I've done this a few times where I'm getting ghosted by somebody, and doing my follow-ups every 2 weeks or so, 10 days. And I will actually start to call them and say, "Hey, John, how are you doing? Listen, I'm gonna keep calling you back. I just want to hear an answer." Like Chad says, I don't mind getting a no. I just want to hear the no. So I'm gonna call you back in 2 weeks if I don't hear from you. Have a great day. I play with it. You have to. So I did this with a company when I was doing my shower caddy. And I bet you I called him 12, 14. I called him every 2 weeks for months, every 2 weeks. And I went to the Chicago Housewares show and I went to their booth. And I went up to and I said, "Is so and so here?" He said, "Oh yeah, he's in the back." I said, will you go tell him that Dana Knowles is here?" He knew who I was because I had called him so many times. And he comes out and he had like his head down and he walked up to me and I grabbed his arm and I said, "Just say no." He could not say, like he finally said it. And I said, "Now, was that so hard?" And but what that taught me is a lot of people really struggle saying no. A lot of people, because they're human beings over there, they struggle saying no.
But maybe,
That's why we give
Dana,
them the tell me yes or no.
maybe by saying no, they might miss something. I mean, is there a thought in their head that if I tell this person no
Mm.
and I made a mistake, maybe it's best just not to say anything?
I don't know. I don't know if they're thinking that or not because I
No,
don't know what they're
sometimes people have a hard time making a decision.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they just kind of delay it and delay it and delay the damn thing. But
Yeah. And sometimes too, this is why when we say LinkedIn, email, phone calls, is because a lot of these bigger companies have blockers on their emails too as well. That if they don't recognize the email or there's something wonky or whatever, they won't even get it. They won't, or it goes into their junk or it goes into their other, whatever other folder they have.
is it easier to you to do this because it's not your product?
That's always
I
easy.
think it is. I have no emotion in it.
I know that's hands down a yes, because I still reach out for my own products all the time, and I do this I've said this a few times, like, so you have those like things that we know that we're not supposed to do, and when I'm reaching out for other people's products, I don't do those, and then when I'm reaching out for my products, I do all the shit that I said that I wasn't going to do for that, so I'm like trying to get more information and trying to do all that, and it's like there's something about that having that
There
emotional
is.
connection. But once you start to realize that, you can start to take that emotional connection out of your outreach on your own products.
How do you do that?
Pretend like,
How do you distance yourself? Because you're right. Someone said the fear of loss.
right.
Great. I don't want to get that no. And if I don't reach out to someone, there's still an opportunity out there. But
Yeah.
How do
Well,
you,
and that goes right along with this comment is William says, how long do you make calls before you finally come up with the realization that your product isn't good enough? And so first of all, I'm not going to go down the is your product good enough. Let's go with the how long do you make calls? It's not anything. It has nothing to do about the time frame. I think I reached out to over 200 companies before I licensed mine. It has to do with the quality and the direction of the feedback that you're getting.
Hmm.
So if your product isn't good enough, in one way or another, they're going to let you know that. You know what I mean? So if you're reaching out based on the feedback that you're getting, and that doesn't mean that like, oh, my product's not good enough, I got to give up. You take all of that feedback, you incorporate it into the new version of your product, and then you hit them back with you make different variations of your product. You don't have to kill it just because you get bad feedback.
so Dana, it's easier to reach out on somebody else's behalf
Yep.
because you're not emotionally tied to it.
I'm not emotionally tied to the product. I am, however, emotionally can feel what the inventor's feeling when a company says, this is interesting. Let me show it to my team. Can you send me a sample or a prototype, or we'd like to see a better video demonstrating it. I get excited because I know what that's like as an inventor to just have a company interested. The thing that doesn't happen with me is when a company does come back, because I remember pitching my own idea and they would say, okay, we're going to show it to our team. And then they would come, and you can't help but get excited. And then they would come back and say, we're going to pass. It's like getting kicked in the gut on your own product. When it's somebody else's product, I'm not happy about it, but it's not that gut kick.
And it is still discouraging, I guess, even so. I don't know. I think you put it pretty good there. So, like, we like to pretend like there's no emotional connection. And like you just said, that's not true because we get excited for this and that because we've been in that position. So I wouldn't say there's no emotional connection. It's just way dialed down. You know what I mean? We're still feeling that as well.
Yeah, because when I get the emails, when you guys get in, you guys are pretty
excited.
happy about it.
Yeah, especially when it's a big company or we get in something. Yeah, we celebrate amongst ourselves because it can be a giant pain in the ass to get into some of those big companies, and it's so we celebrate amongst ourselves because
we do. Yeah. But I think it becomes more of when you start reaching out to companies. It's not physically hard. It can be mentally exhausting. So it's more of a mental, get your head in the right space, keep on going, don't quit.
How do you do that? Is it better to call? Are you a morning person, afternoon person? How do you get in the right frame of mind? Because you guys just have to do it every day you show up. I mean, I know you guys have to, but what about anybody else that's listening? What about getting in the right frame of mind?
Keep your eye. Well, you know what I thought? This is what I thought. I used to say I can envision myself sitting on my front porch when I'm 95 years old in my rocking chair and saying, what was I so scared of? Why didn't I do that? And I don't want to be older and have regrets. And my dream was to get my product out there. It wasn't to make $1 million. If it would have came, that would have been great. It didn't. That's okay. My other people enjoyed my product. That was my goal because I've been an inventor all my life and dreamed of getting a product out there. That's what kept me going.
I think Cynthia said something really important. Put it on your calendar, right? You guys make it serious enough to put it on your calendar to take a look at it. Own it. I think there's something to that because once it's on your calendar, it's almost like I've got to do this type of thing.
You know what?
You built yourself into that stuff when you have like a notification on your phone that's like you set it like a task or whatever. Then you got like 3 of them that are still hovering above there. I mean, even that's a level of accountability. You know what I mean? To be able to check that off your list.
Treat it like anything else. We make a hair appointment to go get our hair cut. We make a doctor's appointment, a dentist appointment, take the car in to get the oil change. Treat it like that. I am making an appointment with myself to work on my product. No, what I did when I was a member, I stopped watching so much TV. I would come home, get dinner, do whatever I needed to do. Instead of turning on the TV, I'd sit down in front of my computer and I would start to research depending on what time zone you're in, if you're calling companies, you got to call them during their business hours. But I started reaching out on LinkedIn, and you can do that any time of the day or night. I would section out so much time on a weekend to do it. And it's amazing how much work you can get done in a 2 hour window of time if you just focus.
Dana, would people be surprised to know how long and how much effort it takes?
Absolutely. You would probably be surprised at how much time and effort it takes. Yeah, yeah.
Now,
Because you don't like doing this, and we do it all the time. Yeah.
explain that to everybody so they really have a full grasp of that.
Well,
I-
go ahead.
I don't want, sometimes I think we make licensing seem easy,
Mhm.
and it is easy compared to starting a business. You don't need to raise money, you don't need to hire employees, you're tapping into existing distribution, but it doesn't mean that it's easy to do all this outreach. You know, it is, if there's one thing, if you are going to do it yourself, as opposed to us doing it for you, keep when you're doing that and you're feeling down a little bit and you're feeling, oh, this isn't working, like you would have to put 1,000 times that effort into running a business if you were going to sell this yourself. You'd have to mortgage your house and home, do all sorts of stuff, have to deal with employees and all that. So keep it in perspective if you do it yourself, but that doesn't mean that it's a piece of cake. But if you are going to do it yourself, it'd be like, okay, I know I'm not starting a business. I know I just got ideas, but I still have to work my ass off, pardon
But
my
how,
language, to get into these companies, and you just do. And if you don't accept that, then you
but
you
Dana,
won't be successful.
but thank you, Andrew. But maybe people just don't know how much effort it takes, Dana. I mean, do you think there's some reality to that?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think one of the biggest things that that any inventor needs to do when they're beginning to reach out, and you should always have your sales sheet prepared, your demo video if you have one prepared, is be organized. Be organized. We have, and I would, for anybody who can have it, we have a big, massive Google sheet with all of our clients. And so when I start to work on a client first, and if I was working on my own product, I would do this. You're working on your product, you're going to research all you're going to, basically ask Chat GPT. And nowadays you can just put the sales sheet in there and give them a couple benefits and say, hey, give me some companies that manufacture these brands that manufacture these products, and Chat GPT. And then you can narrow it down. Once you find a really good company, this is a company, ask Chat GPT, find me more companies like this. And then you have your whole list. I put those all on the spreadsheet. I research, look at every one of their websites, put the website on the website, get the LinkedIn profile on the website, get the corporate telephone number on the website. That, if it's a brand new industry that we've never been in before, that's going to take a little bit longer. Of course, we have a database we can pull companies from, so that's that's quicker. But a brand new, so say it takes me a day to do that. Because I have to research every company. I have to read what they're about. What do they do? What do they sell? What are their price points? What are their materials they work with? And then get all their information in one place so that then I can start to reach out. And I will and the reaching out, honestly, the reaching out part, it's not like you're going to be on the phone with them for an hour. It's calling a corporate number, leaving a telephone number, maybe calling 4 or 5 people in the number in that corporate. If they have a
Might be dial by name directory names for an hour though.
Yeah, you could be on that. I was on a dial by name directory for an hour today. Yeah, yeah.
So that's pro. You're trying to figure all this stuff out. I'm going to tell you what's not pro. Stephen invites, and we don't even really do this anymore. Sometimes we do it, but we invite a company on. They come on usually with Stephen, sometimes with me, and they're saying, look, we're open to ideas. And they say only in this area, here and here, and for these categories. And it doesn't matter what was said on the show. We get this flood of people that submit to that company because, oh, they said they're open to ideas. I'll send my dog toy, even though they're making bicycle products. Yeah. And then they inevitably call Stephen up and go, I don't know what's going on with these inventors. Like, I'm getting stuff that's not even remotely right for me. These people are not professional. You're going to have to take my video down.
And you definitely.
That's why, see, there's a really big difference between that inventor. Oh, I heard they said they're open to ideas. I don't care. I'll just send him anything. And then what Dana was talking about, let's research, let's look at the product line, let's look at their website. Let's research this. There's a big difference. And I think going from being the amateur that's just reactive, anybody that said I'm open to an idea, well, I'll just glom onto that, and doing what Dana said, there's a world of difference. You know, it really is.
I mean, you could reach out. We're talking about the time that it takes. If I have a good list of companies, 25 companies, and I have 25 telephone numbers to reach out to, and I mean, I might spend 15 or 20 minutes per company. If it's a bigger company, maybe I'll spend more time because I have to reach out to more people. Like it's a big company that I worked on today, but I had to research that company from the beginning to the end and find all the people. And they had 100 pages on LinkedIn of people. And it was just, and you can even ask ChatGPT, is there anybody in product development in this company on LinkedIn? And if they are, if they have that product development in their title, ChatGPT might tell you who it is. So it's all these different ways. So, I mean, the time it takes, once you're prepared to do what you need to do, it's mostly rinse, wash, and repeat. Rinse, wash, and repeat. The scripts are, once you get your script down, it's pretty much the same. You just maybe change, the company name or here's, who it's to. One thing that we do, and I know Chad does this, and this is why I think every time we email a new company, the script changes. I'll give you a perfect example.
Ooh.
Changes. Oh, did you just go, oh?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did.
I'm going to give you a
Well, you
perfect
pay us,
Why
Steven,
can't-
because that sounds like it
Why
sucks.
can't I use the same script
No.
over and over and over again?
because there's a reason. There's a reason. First of all, we don't want to sound robotic. We don't want to sound like a bot or a monkey blast or whatever that's called. Chimp monkey. I don't know what that thing's called. MailChimp. Yeah. Chimp monkey. Yeah. Because so I'll give you a perfect example. There is a pet company that I'm reaching out to. I'm pitching a pet product. They have pet products in this industry. They're called a certain thing. So I am going to say to this company, I have researched your product line. I have a client who has a product that I feel would be a good fit for your whatever brand.
Okay.
That's telling them I'm professional. I did my homework. I understand their product line.
Okay.
I've already researched them. I know what I'm doing. I'm serious about this. And and that's why now I may send that same script out to 20 people in that company. But every time I start with a new company, I'm going to go look. I want to see how I even use words out of their website in their about section to script those emails so that I can get attention.
They know you've done your homework. They
know
know
it.
you've edited it. They know you're probably a professional because you've done the work that's required for them to send that message. You know what you're doing.
Yep.
Well, and you might be able to get away. I mean, every script change, at least in my opinion, every script changes a little bit. If you're in the same industry category, I mean, you can use copy and paste, but be careful because you can easily be sending the wrong name that you
I've
have.
done it.
Or
Done
you
it.
could
Guilty. Guilty.
You be referencing the company that you messaged last. All of this happens. We've done this a bunch of times. So, and that sucks. Like you don't want to send out an email referencing their competition.
Hey guys, we're kind of wrapping up here, but this one question, I want to see what you got. I know exactly what I would say, but Richard had a very interesting question. Is asking for feedback an effective sales approach rather than pitching directly? So he's saying like send it to somebody and ask for feedback instead of pitching directly. I know what my answer would be.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. I want to hear what you have to say.
You ask for feedback. I use that all the time, especially. So, I mean, you get.
No, but you're not submitting even for, I want you to license it. I just want your feedback on this product. That's what he's saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
he's saying,
we always make it clear that our intent is to have the product licensed, but you can take some of the pressure off of instead of here are the terms that we want to license under. Initially, we're just looking for some feedback. Is this a good fit for you? Take some of the pressure off of it. I'm not saying that by answering me, you have to sign a deal tomorrow. I'm just saying, hey, is this something that might be a good fit for you?
Yeah, I'll ask for feedback. Even if something that we're pitching is kind of in an early prototype stage, I will make it clear that I'm looking for a licensing deal, but I will ask for feedback. And I always say, feedback is never expected, but appreciated.
Oh,
That's kind of my
So
end.
it sounds
Feedback is
like
never expected, but always appreciated.
you guys are making it clear you're looking to license, but you can also do it in a way that you ask for feedback.
Yeah.
I think what he was saying is just like, I'm an inventor. What do you think of my idea?
Yeah,
Can you give me
no.
15 minutes
You
of
want
your
to be
time?
clear.
The answer
No.
would be no to that,
I would be
right?
clear right from the bat
No, that's
because there's already enough confusion even when you reference licensing.
yeah, yeah,
Because
there is.
there is, and like, because they might not know what licensing is, they might think of, more like brand licensing rather than this, type of licensing. And yeah, even when you're direct, there can still be some confusion as far as to what you're asking for, and you should always have like just a couple sentence script of what licensing is that you can fire back at them. You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh, well, what is that? And then you want to have a good answer for that. You want to be clear as to what you're asking for. Yeah.
So here's a really important question from YouTube. I want to ask Dana what type of coffee she drinks because I need that energy. So
I know this is the natural me, man. I'm always like this. I'm always high, and it's like 9 o'clock at night here. I've been working since. Well, I did take a little break today, but yeah, no, I just have a ton of. You know what? This is what it is. I absolutely love what I do. This has been in my blood
why?
ever
Why?
because I just I remember when I was a little girl, I used to read the back of things. I was always just so interested in how things were made and how did they get from your brain to a store shelf. It just always intrigued me. And innovation to me is just so exciting and so interesting. And I just love what I do. I love it. And I guess that shows in my bubbly attitude.
hey, Andrew, listen.
I'm always bubbly.
Dana, thank you so much. Chad,
Thanks,
thank you.
Thanks, Andrew and Chad.
Yeah, Andrew, we need to wrap up. I want to exit on time. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Hopefully you're finding benefit in these classes. You guys, you're talking to the guys that do it every single day. These guys are really good at this. So thank you for attending. We'll see you next week. Same time. I don't know what the topic is. Andrew, you have any idea what the topic is next week?
I have no idea.
Let's just make it up as we go.
We'll just
No,
yeah.
don't worry. We don't know what it is too until a couple hours before the meeting, so we're good. But it doesn't matter what the topic is. We experience it every day, pretty much.
True.
You guys,
Okay,
thank you very
guys,
much for sharing everything. Andrew, thank you very much for running the show tonight. And
Thanks,
we'll see you
everybody.
guys
Good to
next
see
week.
everybody.